Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Victoria Tundu, MK Abiola.
Good morning.
Brown like chocolate.
Ew.
Yes. Now let's start with the review of the newspapers with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Federal government, Nigeria's risk kiosk if petrol subsidy is removed. Claims we are leaving the country much more secure than we met it. NMDPRA expresses concern over growing oil theft. Yes, the issue of petroleum subsidy will not go away. Yes, the government is subsidizing petrol to the tune of about 2-point-something billion so far this year alone. And the problem is that we're still having issues of fuel scarcity in Abuja, elsewhere, and it has returned to Lagos. As for whether the government will remove subsidy, we know that is a foregone conclusion that it will not. But justifying it over and over at a time the NNPC cannot even fund the federation account for states to have enough money to even pay salaries is in itself an indictment. But that is what it is. But we must also remember that this country has refineries and they are not working. That but $1 billion was set aside for the repair of these refineries, and no results so far. Yet these refineries are incurring costs. So to compare what is happening elsewhere, because of the crisis, the war in Ukraine, where there's this energy crisis around the world, you cannot use that to justify the situation in Nigeria, an oil-producing country that imports all the petroleum product we use in this country. 8 years, yes, it did not start with this government, but 7 years ago, we thought things would change. Well, as it stands, the next government will bother about this problem and deal with the problem, or continue to kick the can down the road. But certainly that is not how to run a country, because Nigeria is an oil-producing country blessed with these resources, yet we cannot refine this product for our use. Certainly if Nigeria refines all our petroleum products used in this country, I think the country will be better for it. I'm not sure it will be selling at the cost, the price at which it is being sold now, because what we are paying for is also the cost of freight and other charges that go with importing petroleum products. If you produce locally, refine locally, of course, you eliminate a number of those costs in the value chain. Now, let's look at other stories quickly. Of course, the Guardian newspaper, yes, driving home this point. Despite assurances, petrol queues worsen in Lagos, Abuja. Worst days ahead. Stakeholders fear. PPMC agreed to supply products to us directly, say marketers. NATO, National Association of Road Transport Owners, warns members against smuggling. Yes, the midstream, downstream petroleum regulatory authority, NNDPRA, IPMAN, moved to steady PMS price at 165 per liter. Yes, the other thing, Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, talked about security, that Nigeria is more secure today than they met it in 2015. Well, I know many will take that with a pinch of salt, but again, we know better that it is risky to travel on many Nigerian roads today. It was not so in 2015. And to say Nigeria is more secure now, then the President Muhammadu Buhari, will not be uneasy as he claimed to have been in recent weeks about the number of killings, attacks on churches, on military formation, as we saw last week when almost 38 soldiers were killed in that ambush in Niger State. But let's move on. The Business Day newspaper, Nigerians voice frustrations over cost of living crisis. Of course, this in itself is one that is biting every family, except few, maybe on this table. Ruben.
It's biting me too.
No, Ruben usually claims that he has empty pocket, and you know I don't agree with that.
Me too.
But of course, but seriously, the cost of living,
it's really biting hard.
Even if you have quantum of naira in your bank and in your pocket, when you go to the supermarkets and the markets, you feel the pinch. Because every day the price of goods in the markets keep changing, rising up every now and then. But that is the situation in the country. Nigerians are crying, especially those who are the lower rungs of salary earners, the lower rung salary earners. Of course, whatever became of that 30,000 naira minimum wage, which some states are still not paying. So you might imagine how the Nigerian workers and even those who don't have jobs are coping with this situation. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, VP slot, APC at crossroad over Muslim ticket. Northern Hawks frown at Muslim-Christian ticket. Promoters of Muslim ticket don't wish Nigeria well. Sheikh Mariah, as TSO wants El-Rufai as running mate. Fresh trouble for APC as group files perjury case against Tinubu. 6 order of mandamus against IGP. Yes, the Muslim ticket, APC, yet to decide on that. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the candidate and is the one who should make that choice eventually, despite what others may recommend within his party. Will he pick a Christian to replace the placeholder? But again, we'll just wait and see. Now, below the photograph in front page of Vanguard, the story, tension as 300 headsmen take over part of Delta community. Yes, communities Okpanam in Oshimile local government area, a suburb of Asaba, the Delta State capital. 300 headsmen said to have taken part of that community. Yes, when contacted, the Commissioner for Information saying that he's not aware of this number, although he admitted that there are some northerners who are doing many jobs, although you have some who make trouble now and then, but you cannot just label everybody as bad, according to the Commissioner of Information in Delta State. But this is one that Governor Ifeanyi Okowa must keep an eye on so that we don't have breakdown of law and order in this community between the headers and the indigents of that sleepy community. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, Vice President slot, Afenifere, Middle Belt Forum, Islamic cleric reject Muslim ticket. Says promoters don't wish Nigeria well. Now, the Nation newspaper, Wike's camp gives Ayu must go condition to back Atiku. Statement as PDP candidate insists party share will lead campaign. Party bigwigs to lobby Rivers governor for support. Well, effort to get Inyenso Wike to be active once again in the PDP affairs is on, and it's like that will be the issue of discourse until Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the PDP, returns from his vacation. Yes, Rufai suggested if I were him, I would cut short that holiday and come and extinguish this fire that is threatening the efforts of the PDP to regain power. No, now, also above the masthead of the nation, inside Ondo Believers Church, members fasting ahead return of Jesus in September. Can you imagine that? Even when Jesus told his disciples, if they say I'm here, don't believe them. Yet some people have been deceived that Jesus will come in December. My wife gave birth there 4 months ago and stayed back. Kids refuse to leave police station until pastor is released. My 400-level student son left school, moved there. Government to probe how people were indoctrinated. Some parents didn't know their children were there. That group that called themselves Believers Church in Ondo, indoctrinating, or some will say hypnotizing people who seem to have been rescued, but they are yet to get out of their hypnotism or indoctrination. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper operatives accuse NSCDC of undermining election monitoring. Say they paid for lodging orders from their savings. NSCDC berates personnel for making complaint public. Yes, I think this is something government must look at. Deploying security officials for election without paying them their allowances. You make them vulnerable to politicians who want to use them to rig elections. These guys who even conducted Anambra election, up till now, they've not received their allowances. The authorities must take note and ensure that these officers are paid their allowances so that they don't become vulnerable to offers, tips from politicians who want them to do dirty job on election day. The Punch newspaper, 20 directors just to replace fired ACF. Anamikwe redeployed to FCSC as director. Secular 6 Idris replacement sacked AGF to face disciplinary committee after EFCC probe, says Anan. Yes, Anan, the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria. Yes, the acting Accountant General has been moved, and there's another acting. He has been moved to another unit as Director of Audit. Well, we'll see how that pans out. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Daily Telegraph. Starmer clashes with party on Brexit. Yes, Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, is speaking on Brexit after a long silence, and he's saying, well, there's no return to Europe. There's no return to the Customs Union and freedom of movement as it was under EU when Britain was part of EU. Now, he has highlighted a number of measures to make Brexit work. In his view, what Boris Johnson negotiated has not worked. So there are better options, and he's putting that forward in a speech. Now, the Guardian newspaper, Parliament urged to act over sexual abuse claims. Yes, parliamentary workers are saying that Parliament must act to stop the seemingly endless allegations of sexual misconduct by MPs, as parties cannot be trusted to make it a safe place to work. 2 leading unions have won. Well, it's like one bad apple spoiling the whole bunch. But, of course, as number 10 admitted, as the Guardian reporting, that Boris Johnson had known about the claims against Chris Fisher before even making him, giving him that responsibility of deputy chief whip. So Boris Johnson still has a number of issues to deal with. Parliamentary workers saying environment not safe because we have some parliamentarians who have their eyes and hands not in place. Now, the Wall Street Journal, July 4th parade shooting leaves at least 6 people dead. You will say not again, but in the US, it happens. And it will happen again. We don't pray, but that is the US. Until something is done about gun control, perhaps we'll continue to have this. Police on Monday apprehended a young man, Robert Ikrimo 3, 22-year-old, who went on a shooting spree on that day when Americans were celebrating. Ruben Rufai
so sad.
and Tundu.
Real quickly, I'd like to take a story from The Guardian.
Yes.
The front page of The Guardian about
The Guardian, Nigeria's The Guardian
interview
newspaper.
yesterday, with Buba Galadima and Ohaneze Enugu reacting
Yes.
to that. And I think for the sake of history, and to set history straight, Buba Galadima stated he's part of history, and he said that this is a golden opportunity for the Southeast because they've never taken the opportunity, and he cited a possible, union that could have happened between Azikiwe and the North in the Second Republic, and that didn't happen. But let's set records straight. It did happen. There was a union. In fact, let me dial back to 59. After the 59 elections, Nigeria had a hung parliament. And you had to have a national government of unity between NCNC, National Union of the Cameroons and Nigerian, and the MPC, which was, one of the largest seats there of Tafawa Balewa. So that was a union between the East and the North. But we saw how that ended. The discrepancies and everything, that as at the time when they went for the 64 elections, it was already acrimonious. They were already as daggers drawn. 20 years after, in 79, it happened again. There was a union, actually, between Nnamdi Azikiwe and Shehu Shagari this time. Because he couldn't get the full complement of the House. Shehu Shagari's party, the NPN, won 160 seats in the House, in the 443-member House, and he needed the party of Nnamdi Azikiwe that won some states and had some members in the House.
Talking about NPN-NPP accord.
Accord.
Yeah.
And they had that, but we saw how that went. We saw how Nnamdi Azikiwe, an Easterner, was pushed out systematically of that agreement. And in 83 elections, Shehu Shagari consolidated big time. But we know how that happened. After the elections on the 6th of August in 83, we know what happened in December afterwards. The military boys came and they did take over. So just to set history straight, there have always been those alliances between the East and the North, but it doesn't always go well for the East. So hence, some people complaining this time around about this Kwankwaso and Obi alliance. Just to set history straight.
Yes, Robert. Story about the attack on INEC office at Igboeze
in Enugu State.
Igboeze North, local government area of Enugu State. Now, we had repeated cases of this in Anambra, in some other parts of the East, and we thought that that had ended. Now, to hear that INEC facilities are becoming again a special target, that's frightening. Over 748 ballot boxes were carted away. INEC says they're still trying to find out whether, some of these continuous voter registration machines have also been taken away. Clearly, the intention, again...
Were they taken away or they were destroyed?
The place was set ablaze.
Yeah, it was set ablaze.
They were destroyed. So the intention clearly is to prevent either elections holding or to make it impossible for some people to take part. And this is a great cost, not just to INEC, but to the rest of the community. And so whatever steps can be taken to secure these INEC facilities ahead of the general elections in 2023, that will be very important, not just in Igboeze North or in Enugu State, but in all parts of Nigeria. And then in the foreign papers, I wanted to draw your attention to the go-slow in Britain yesterday,
in the UK. Yeah. Okay.
With drivers blocking the expressway, the motorways they call it in the UK, just because of fuel price.
Yes, I think the Financial
And it's not
Times,
just because it's a serious matter,
put it up there,
because
that story.
there's an energy crisis in Europe and elsewhere, and I hope we too will not eventually get to that point whereby there will be a complete gridlock, and you and I will probably go out there and be playing football on the expressway.
Did you see Awolowo Road yesterday? Fair queues.
Well,
we're
at least
there.
in Nigeria, people are still
Not
queuing.
quite that
In
bad.
some other parts of the world, in Sri Lanka, in Britain, people are just saying, no, we cannot. This cannot be sustained. I hope we'll think ahead because the Nigerian factor. If it gets here, you can imagine the consequences. To use a very familiar phrase from Aso Rock.
Yeah. So I think
Thank you very much.
it's something that has to be addressed. Not when we are spending so much to import fuel, subsidizing fuel. You see, have fuel supply crisis. Then that would be the height, the pinnacle of inefficiency in the government.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pastor Elder Emmanuel Ifeni.